Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era is exactly what I didn't know that I needed right now, and I'm so happy I got my hands on it. With that being said, hey, I'm Ray, and today I'm going to be stress testing the mechanics, builds, and replayability of Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era to figure out if it can become your next obsession. So, Olden Era is the newest entry in the Heroes of Might and Magic franchise, a set of games that I honestly have very little experience with, if at all. The game was developed by Unfrozen and published by Hooded Horse, who, for full disclosure, did provide me a key to this game. Also, I want to say before we really get into the mechanics and builds and all that, I do want to kind of disclose that this is only an early access build. So there's a lot that's going to be missing from this experience. They even kind of are very upfront about that in the opening minutes of the game as well. They have a big disclaimer of what is and isn't going to be there. But I'm not going to stress too much about what's coming down the line. I really want to just focus on what is there now to help you understand if you want to buy this or not. So what is the gameplay of Heroes of Might and Magic actually like? Well, on the surface, it describes itself as a turn-based strategy game, but I think that that's not necessarily misleading, but just doesn't tell the whole story. This is a little bit closer to a 4X style game, something like Civilization, but that'll make more sense as I talk about what we're actually doing. There is a campaign, or at least the first act of a campaign, some challenge maps, a map editor, but we're just going to focus on what happens when you hit Start New Game, the kind of classic experience of Heroes of Might and Magic. Right away, you're given plenty of options of how to set up a game, from the different map, size, and layout to what faction you want to pick and what hero you want to pick. I'll get more into that in builds. Once everything is set up and you hit start, you're brought into the world map, where from now on, the game goes in a turn-based order. What do you actually do on a turn? Well, there's a couple things that you're going to be doing. First, we're going to talk about actually using the hero. The hero consists of whatever hero you picked before and whatever army you have with you. You start with a small amount of soldiers, though I would caution you to say that these are not enough to take on most of the challenges of the map, even early on in the game. So what you're going to do is you're going to explore, you're going to find different resource points, unlock gold, crystals, or things that are going to help build your base, which I'll get to in a second. And then there also is the ability to fight whatever is on the map. But before you start taking on combat, you're probably going to want to upgrade a little bit. And that brings us to the second part of player phase, which is going to be actual base management. Through your base, you're able to use your resources that you gather to build structures, to create stronger economies, to fortify your base itself, as well as to recruit new units, which can only be done on a weekly basis. So this game is interesting. Every turn is essentially a day. The game progresses in days, and then weeks, and then months. So every week, you're given the opportunity to recruit a new stack of units. With proper upgrades to your base, you can also upgrade those units. And once you have a strong enough army with you, you can actually start taking on the challenges of the map. I would usually recommend waiting until at least week 2 before you really start interacting with combat in any meaningful way. But how does combat itself actually play out? Well, it takes place on a hex-based grid. Your units are going to be starting on the left side of the screen, and you have what is called a tactical phase to position where you want your units without actually seeing where the enemy units are going to be. You'll also maybe notice that up in the top left is this guy on a horse, and that is actually you. That's your hero. Your hero doesn't necessarily take place in the fights themselves. The hero, however, can cast spells, do physical attacks that target specific enemies, and a few other things depending on which hero you actually pick. But the bulk of combat is going to be navigating through this hex grid as you use your units to, as efficiently as possible, take out the enemy units. Combat takes place in initiative order, which can be seen up on the top of the screen. As you move around and attack units, you deal damage to their health and ultimately whittle down their stack, lowering their strength and ultimately eliminating the enemy. But most units, when you attack them, will counterattack you. So this is where the big strategy comes in, and why I recommend holding off on the first week. You want a really strong set of units that can wipe out enemies very efficiently without taking any damage yourself, because any unit in your stack that dies during combat, with some exception maybe, dies and you don't have them back. So even a decisive victory can still whittle down your strength and make subsequent battles harder. This makes combat deceptively simple when actually there's a good bit of strategy that goes in, because you're not thinking about just winning this fight, but also being prepared for subsequent fights that come down the road. And while most battles are pretty straightforward when you're attacking neutral on-map enemies, when you fight an actual hero, they can do all the things that your hero can do. They can cast spells, use attacks, buff their allies, so on and so forth. And this game gets really difficult when it comes to fighting other NPC heroes. But as you win combat, you unlock resource points as well as bases, because every little region on the map has its own base tied to it. Now, this base can sometimes be a freestanding and not directly attached to one of the other enemy armies, but defeating the enemies guarding the base gives you the base. It doesn't convert it to your faction, you just get that faction's base, which means you also get all of the upgrade paths, all of the units, as well as the ability to get more heroes. And if you're good at these big strategy games, you can probably see that progress really compounds in this game. You start off really slow and kind of pick up momentum, get more units, start to unlock resource points that get you more units and better units that help you unlock stronger resource points, which gets you to the next region, which unlocks a base, which gets you more resources, and so on and so forth. The thing about this is it's not necessarily a power fantasy, because every other enemy faction army is doing the exact same thing. This game, even on the lower difficulties, is pretty tough, especially if you're not like great at strategy games. I love strategy games, but I will be the first to admit that I kind of suck at them. And this one really puts me in my place right away. But now we're going to rewind and look back at builds. So as I mentioned, there's multiple factions that you can choose from in this game, 6 to be exact, each with their own strengths, own army compositions, and own large set of heroes. Every faction has multiple rows of heroes to be chosen from, and most heroes kind of fall into one of two categories, might or magic, as the name Heroes of Might and Magic implies. There's either going to be kind of general style leaders who focus on really building a strong army and buffing your units and things like that. And then there's also these magic style kind of sorcerer units who are really going to focus on casting spells that do different things on the battlefield, whether it be debuffing enemies, buffing your allies, attacking enemies, causing status, things like that. And how you choose to pick your hero is really just fully up to you. I would almost recommend your first playthrough just hitting random faction, random hero, and not even worrying about it. Just get the grips of the game and then start experimenting with how you actually want to play. Also, cool little thing, I don't know if you guys know the channel Mandalore Gaming, but he has a little kind of cameo in this game. He's one of the heroes in one of the factions, so go look for him. But once you actually pick your hero, which is just the start of your build, then you have to worry about army composition. As you kind of unlock your base, as I mentioned, you unlock different units for your base. But then as you pick further structures down your base upgrade path, you can get advanced tiers of those units, which usually have 2 different options to choose from, which, depending on your faction, usually includes one kind of more defensive and one kind of more offensive option, but that's very much an overgeneralization. As you take on combat and unlock certain resource points, you gain experience, which levels up your hero, which in doing so, you kind of get both increased stats, but also different skills that you can pick along the way, further tuning and optimizing your play style. And on the map, you can find different artifacts, which are going to be equipment that are given to your hero that augment their abilities and the abilities that they can use throughout combat in your units. And there's a lot of build customization here. I'm going to keep it kind of general because this is just an overview of the game, but I just want to say that I love the amount of choice that this has. There is some randomness in what you're going to get as far as kind of artifacts on the map and things like that. As far as I can tell from playing a couple of games of this, at least. I have bad memory, so maybe it could have been the same thing every time. I don't know. But there's a lot of variation in kind of how each playthrough can go, even if you pick the same faction, the same map, with the same hero. The game probably isn't going to play out the exact way every time, and I think that that's really awesome, which leads into replayability. This game is made to be replayed. There is so many options for just difficulty, maps, hero selection, factions, how you want to just set up the game can change so much. Then once you actually get into the game, what the enemy is doing on their turn is going to change every time. So this game is going to feel fresh every time. Individual matches within this game can vary quite a bit in terms of length. If it's just kind of a one-on-one or one-on-two scenario, they're going to be over in a couple of hours. If you do a map with 7 other factions, you're going to be in there for a while. And I like that there's that variation, and you can kind of pick how much you want to get invested into any particular match. So does Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era pass the stress test, and can I see it becoming someone's obsession? If you couldn't tell, yes, I really liked this game. It was a lot of fun. This could easily become my obsession. I don't know that I'll play it enough to make an obsession video out of it, but there's a decent chance that I will, because most games, once I finish them up, I usually wrap up, move straight on to the next game once the video is done. But I'm probably going to keep playing this one for the next, at least throughout this weekend. So as always, let me know your guys' thoughts on the game down below. Have you gotten it? Have you played it? Do you want to? Have I convinced you to give it a try? Or is it maybe just not for you? Regardless, I hope to see you again soon. And until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope that you know that you truly matter in this world. Take care.